Faced with growing uncertainty over the United States' long-term commitment to the war in Ukraine and the broader future of NATO, Europe is beginning to re-evaluate its heavy reliance on American military power. In response, European nations, led in part by France, are taking significant steps to strengthen their own defense capabilities. France, in particular, has pledged to substantially increase military spending, launching initiatives to boost domestic production and re-energize its defense industry. The goal is not only to modernize existing forces but also to build a more self-reliant and technologically advanced European defense infrastructure. This ambition, however, comes with complex financial challenges and serious recruitment hurdles. With defense budgets under pressure from competing social priorities and inflationary strains, governments must find a way to sustain long-term investments. At the same time, defense firms are facing difficulties attracting skilled workers, from welders and machinists on the factory floor to AI engineers and cybersecurity specialists vital to developing next-generation military technologies. To better understand how France is tackling these issues, our reporters visited defense companies across the country. From sprawling industrial plants where tanks and ammunition are produced, to high-tech labs exploring the integration of artificial intelligence into battlefield systems, we met the people at the heart of Europe's defense push. What we found was an industry both energized by renewed political support and constrained by logistical and human resource bottlenecks. As the geopolitical landscape continues to shift, Europe's ability to shoulder more of its own defense burden could reshape the transatlantic alliance and determine the continent's security for decades to come. At the heart of France's rearmament strategy is a promise to increase defense spending to 2% of GDP, in line with NATO guidelines, a target that has taken on new urgency in the wake of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron has repeatedly emphasized the need for strategic autonomy, a vision of Europe capable of defending itself independently, even as transatlantic alliances face strains. But turning political rhetoric into operational capability is no small feat. France's flagship defense companies, such as Nexter, Thales, Dassault Aviation, and Naval Group, have all reported a surge in orders from both domestic and European clients. Production lines that once moved at a cautious pace are now being ramped up to meet rising demand for everything from artillery shells to cutting-edge fighter jets. Yet, scaling up is proving difficult. One of the most pressing obstacles is human capital. After years of limited investment and downsizing, the defense sector is now scrambling to fill thousands of vacancies. Skilled labor, especially in precision manufacturing, has become scarce. It's not just about hiring more people, says a senior executive at a major defense contractor. It's about finding people with the right skills, and that takes time. Apprenticeship programs and fast-track technical training courses are being expanded, but they struggle to keep up with the pace of demand. The challenge is even more acute in high-tech fields. As warfare becomes increasingly digital, AI specialists, data scientists, and cybersecurity experts have become as essential as traditional engineers. Yet these professionals are often drawn to better-paying and less politically sensitive sectors such as finance or commercial tech. Convincing them to join the defense industry, particularly in a European context where pacifist sentiment remains strong, is proving difficult. Despite these setbacks, there are signs of momentum. Some firms are forming partnerships with universities to develop a new generation of engineers trained specifically for military applications. Others are investing in automation and advanced robotics to compensate for labor shortages. Meanwhile, European defense procurement is slowly becoming more coordinated, with initiatives like the European Defense Fund aiming to support collaborative R&D projects across the continent. Still, experts warn that Europe's strategic pivot will take years to fully materialize. This is not just about buying more tanks or planes, notes a defense policy analyst in Paris. It's about rebuilding an entire ecosystem, industrial, technological, and human, that can support sustained military readiness without relying on American protection. As political dynamics shift in Washington and uncertainty looms over future U.S. foreign policy, Europe's gamble on autonomy may prove either a wise hedge or a costly miscalculation. What's clear for now is that the continent has entered a new era of defense thinking, one where sovereignty, deterrence, and resilience are back at the top of the agenda. Public sentiment and political debate. On the streets of Paris and beyond, opinions on the increased military spending are varied. While a significant segment of the population welcomes the initiative as a necessary response to a rapidly evolving security environment, others remain wary of the potential economic cost. Critics argue that the funds could be better allocated to social services and infrastructure projects, especially in a post-pandemic recovery landscape. However, proponents of the policy insist that the long-term benefits of having an autonomous and resilient defense capability far outweigh the short-term fiscal pressures. Political parties across the spectrum are engaging in heated debates. On one hand, nationalist and conservative voices support a robust defense stance as a means to reinforce national pride and security. On the other, left-leaning factions urge for tighter controls on defense expenditure and advocate for a more transparent procurement process. This internal dialogue reflects a broader European trend where national interests often intersect with pan-European strategic ambitions. European neighbors and transatlantic implications. Beyond its borders, France's ramped-up defense industry is setting off ripples throughout Europe. Countries like Germany, Italy, and Spain are closely observing the effects of France's strategy, as they too face growing pressure to reassess their military capabilities. European policymakers argue that a more integrated, continent-wide defense framework could reduce redundancies and foster a stronger collective voice on the global stage. Initiatives like the European Defense Fund are designed to promote such cooperation, facilitating joint research projects and shared technological development. Yet, the commitment to collective defense is not without its challenges. Differing national priorities and economic capacities mean that each country's approach to defense spending varies widely. For example, while some nations may emulate France's industrial acceleration, others might struggle to invest at a comparable pace, potentially leading to imbalances within the alliance. Moreover, the uncertain trajectory of U.S. engagement in global security has fueled calls for Europe to not only increase its own capabilities but also to reconfigure its traditional transatlantic ties. The road ahead: innovation and resilience. From the factory floor to cutting-edge R&D laboratories, the ongoing shift signals a broader transformation in the European defense ecosystem. Traditional manufacturing lines are being augmented with state-of-the-art automation and digital tools, paving the way for a modernized industrial base. Simultaneously, the recruitment challenge is prompting innovative solutions. Industry leaders and academic institutions are teaming up to create specialized training programs designed to bridge the skills gap in both traditional engineering and emerging technological fields. In the medium term, Europe's gamble on self-reliance could set a precedent for other regions grappling with similar dilemmas. As the continent pushes forward with its ambitious vision, the outcome will likely depend on the ability to harmonize fiscal prudence, technological innovation, and political consensus, not only within individual nations but across the entire European bloc. By embracing this multifaceted strategy, Europe seeks to forge a new identity in global defense, one that leverages both its rich industrial heritage and its modern technological prowess. The transition may be fraught with challenges, but for many European leaders and citizens alike, it represents a necessary evolution in an unpredictable geopolitical landscape. Inside Europe's defense industry: innovation, scale, and strategy. At the center of this accelerated push are the major players of France's and Europe's defense industrial complex. Companies such as Nexter Systems, known for producing the Leclerc main battle tank and Caesar self-propelled howitzers, are experiencing record levels of demand. Following increased military aid deliveries to Ukraine, production schedules have been radically compressed, with factories now working around the clock to replenish both domestic and allied stockpiles. 10 years ago, we were producing a few dozen artillery pieces a year. Now we're being asked to deliver that in months, said one production manager at a Nexter facility in Bourges. He noted that machine upgrades and process streamlining have helped, but that raw manpower, qualified welders, machinists, and quality control experts, is still the bottleneck. Dassault Aviation, meanwhile, has been at the forefront of Europe's high-end aerospace capabilities with its Rafale fighter jet. While orders continue to come in from nations like Egypt, India, and Greece, the company is also deeply invested in the Future Combat Air System, FCAS, an ambitious, multi-nation effort with Germany and Spain to build the next-generation European fighter, complete with AI-assisted piloting and swarm drone integration. This project represents a shift from traditional arms development to an era where software, cloud computing, and data fusion are just as important as airframes and engines. Thales Group, a leader in military electronics, cybersecurity, and satellite systems, is likewise ramping up efforts in battlefield communications, radar systems, and quantum-encrypted defense networks. One of its new initiatives involves integrating AI-powered threat detection into command and control systems, a capability that would allow for real-time analysis of enemy movement, cyber intrusion attempts, and drone activity. Meanwhile, Naval Group, the cornerstone of France's naval force projection, is in the midst of building next-generation nuclear-powered submarines and surface vessels equipped with advanced missile systems and stealth technology. It's also expanding its footprint in modular shipbuilding, which allows various European partners to share ship components for faster and more cost-effective fleet renewal. A new defense technology ecosystem. These developments reflect a broader trend. Europe is no longer just purchasing more weapons, it is reimagining how defense technology is conceived, developed, and deployed. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced sensors, and space-based reconnaissance are all becoming core elements of military strategy. In fact, many firms now say that up to half of their R&D budgets are going not to weapons platforms but to software-defined capabilities. To support this shift, governments are offering incentives to startups and SMEs working in dual-use technologies, those that have both civilian and military applications. In Toulouse and Lyon, for example, AI firms that once focused on medical imaging or autonomous vehicles are now collaborating with defense integrators to adapt their tech for use in surveillance, targeting, and logistics. This effort has also revived a once stagnant conversation in Brussels, the creation of a truly integrated European defense market. EU officials argue that greater cross-border cooperation, shared procurement strategies, and standardized equipment would not only improve efficiency but also strengthen Europe's geopolitical clout. But so far, progress has been incremental, slowed by differing national interests and long-standing defense-industrial rivalries. A continental test of resolve. Ultimately, Europe's move to assert greater military independence is not just a reaction to American ambivalence, it is a strategic bet on its own ability to protect and project its values in a volatile world. France is leading the charge, but its success will hinge on whether the rest of the continent can follow in both pace and vision. If the continent can align its industrial output, invest in emerging technologies, and coordinate policy with political will, it may yet build a credible alternative to the current US-led defense model. If not, it risks pouring resources into a fragmented system unable to respond effectively to tomorrow's threats. As one senior EU defense official put it, Europe has the money, the brains, and the urgency. Now it needs unity. That will be our biggest weapon.